If you enjoy this story, please hit that subscribe button for more incredible true stories like this one. My name is Nadia Chen, and I'm 28 years old. This story is about the night my family learned that success isn't always loud, and revenge can be served with a smile and a credit card. Growing up in San Francisco, my extended family was obsessed with appearances. Every gathering became a competition of who had the better job, the bigger house, the more impressive achievements. My Aunt Patricia led this circus. She was my father's older sister, a real estate agent who drove a leased Mercedes and wore designer everything. Her daughter, my cousin Vanessa, was just like her. Entitled, materialistic, and always looking down on people she deemed beneath her. I was the black sheep. While Vanessa went to a private university and studied business, I went to community college and studied graphic design. While Vanessa got a job at a tech startup through family connections, I freelanced from my tiny apartment. While Vanessa posted Instagram photos of expensive brunches and shopping trips, I posted my artwork and ate ramen. My family made their opinions clear. At every holiday dinner, every birthday party, every family event, I was the topic of concerned whispers and disappointed looks. When is Nadia going to get a real job? Why is she wasting her talent on that art stuff? She'll never be successful like Vanessa. I stopped going to family events 3 years ago. It was easier than watching them celebrate Vanessa's mediocrity while dismissing my hard work. But last month, my mother called with a special request. Nadia, honey, your grandmother's 80th birthday is coming up. You have to come. It would break her heart if you weren't there. I loved my grandmother. She was the only family member who'd ever supported my choices. So I agreed. The dinner was planned at Milano's, an upscale Italian restaurant in the city. The whole extended family would be there. 30 people, including all my judgmental aunts, uncles, and cousins. Mom warned me. Patricia is planning something big. She keeps talking about celebrating family success stories. Just be prepared. I knew what that meant. Another opportunity for my aunt to parade Vanessa around while making me feel small. But I went anyway. For Grandma. I arrived at the restaurant wearing a simple black dress I'd bought on sale. Nothing fancy. I wasn't trying to impress anyone. The private dining room was already full when I walked in. Crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths, expensive wine being poured. My family was dressed to the nines, showing off their wealth like peacocks. Grandma saw me first. Her face lit up. Nadia. My artist granddaughter. She hugged me tight. I felt genuine love from her, something I rarely felt from the rest of them. Aunt Patricia spotted me next. Her smile was tight fake. Nadia. So glad you could make it. We weren't sure if you'd be able to afford the time away from your projects. First dig of the night. Smiled back. I made time for Grandma. Vanessa swooped in, air-kissing both my cheeks. She wore a dress that probably cost more than my rent. Nadia. It's been forever. Are you still doing the art thing? I told Vanessa I was still working as a designer. She gave me that pitying look I knew so well. That's so cute. You know, if you ever want a real job, I could probably get you an interview at my company. Entry level, of course. I thanked her and moved away before I said something I'd regret. Dinner started with appetizers and small talk. I sat between my mother and my younger brother, Ryan, who gave me a sympathetic look. He knew how these dinners went. Aunt Patricia stood up with a wine glass, calling for everyone's attention. Before we celebrate my mother's wonderful 80th birthday, I want to take a moment to recognize the achievements of our family. We've always been a family of success, and I'm so proud of what we've accomplished. Here we go, I thought. She continued. My daughter Vanessa just got promoted to senior account manager. She's making 6 figures now. Everyone applauded. Vanessa stood up and did a little bow, eating up the attention. Patricia went on. And my nephew Marcus just bought his second investment property. More applause. Marcus, my cousin from my uncle's side, grinned smugly. Patricia listed more achievements. Promotions, new cars, expensive vacations. each announcement followed by enthusiastic clapping and congratulations. Then her eyes landed on me. The room got quiet. And Nadia, our artist, is still pursuing her passion. The way she said passion made it sound like a disease. Few people chuckled. I felt my face get hot, but I kept my expression neutral. I wouldn't give her the satisfaction. Patricia continued, her voice dripping with false sweetness. You know, Nadia, we really do admire your dedication to your art. Well, we like to celebrate real success at these gatherings. People who've made something of themselves professionally. The table went dead silent. Even Vanessa looked uncomfortable. My mother put her hand on my arm, but I gently moved it away. Patricia wasn't done. That's why, going forward, we've decided that our family dinners should only include people who've achieved a certain level of success. We want to inspire each other, you understand. Not bring each other down with struggling artists. She smiled at me like she was doing me a favor. My Uncle David, Patricia's husband, nodded along. It's nothing personal, Nadia. It's just that we work hard for our success, and we like to surround ourselves with similarly successful people. I looked around the table. Some family members avoided eye contact. Others nodded in agreement. My grandmother looked furious but didn't say anything. I took a sip of water, letting the moment breathe. Then I smiled. I completely understand, Aunt Patricia. Success is important. Tell me, what do you consider successful? She looked pleased that I was engaging. Well, financial stability, career advancement, contributing to society in meaningful ways. You know, the usual markers. I nodded thoughtfully. That makes sense. So, just to be clear, you're saying that only people who meet your definition of success should be invited to family events. She waved her hand dismissively. Exactly. It's about standards. We can't have everyone just showing up, can we? I felt something shift inside me. Calm, cold determination. These people had looked down on me for years, had made me feel small, had dismissed my work and my worth. But they had no idea who I really was, because I'd kept my success quiet. And now it was time to change that. I set down my water glass and pulled out my phone. That's interesting, Aunt Patricia. I just want to make sure I understand your criteria for success. She looked confused but nodded. Yes, dear. Financial success primarily. Making good money. Having assets. That sort of thing. I pretended to think about this. Okay. So, if someone was making, say, $200,000 a year, would that count as successful? Patricia's eyes widened. 200,000. Course. That's very successful. He nodded. What about someone who owns their home outright? Paid in full. David jumped in. Absolutely. Property ownership is a key marker of success. Vanessa added. Yeah, I'm working toward that. It's the dream. Smiled. One more question. What if someone had, say, a 7-figure investment portfolio? Would that person qualify as successful enough to attend family dinners? The table was staring at me now. Patricia laughed nervously. Nadia, why are you asking these hypothetical questions? That's not relevant to. I interrupted her. I'm asking because I want to make sure I qualify for future family events. According to your standards. There was confused silence. My mother squeezed my arm. Nadia, what are you talking about? I looked directly at Aunt Patricia. I'm talking about the fact that I make $300,000 a year. I own my condo outright. And my investment portfolio is worth $1.8 million. So, by your definition, I'm extremely successful. Does that mean I'm still invited to family dinners? You could have heard a pin drop. Patricia's face went through several expressions. Confusion. Disbelief. Finally, she forced out a laugh. Nadia, that's not funny. There's no need to make up stories. I pulled up my phone and opened my banking app. I rarely looked at it during social situations, but this was special. I showed my mother first. Her eyes went wide. Oh my God. I passed the phone to Patricia. On the screen was my investment account summary. The balance was clearly visible. $1,847,293.67. Patricia stared at it. Her hand was shaking. This can't be real. Took my phone back. It's very real. I've been freelancing for 5 years. 3 years ago, I landed a major client. Then another. Then another. I now have contracts with 4 Fortune 500 companies. I design their marketing materials, their websites, their branding. I charge premium rates because I'm very good at what I do. The table was silent. Everyone was staring at me. I continued. Last year alone, I made $280,000. This year, I'm on track for $350,000. I paid off my condo last year. I drive a modest car because I don't care about impressing people. And I dress simply because I'm comfortable. But make no mistake, I am extremely successful by any financial metric. Vanessa found her voice. But you never said anything. You let us think you were struggling. I looked at her calmly. I didn't let you think anything. You assumed. You all did. Because I didn't brag, you assumed I was failing. Because I didn't flash money around, you assumed I didn't have any. You measured my worth by appearances instead of asking about my actual life. My grandmother started laughing. Actual genuine laughter. Oh, this is rich. Patricia, you just uninvited the most successful person at this table from future family dinners. Patricia looked like she'd been slapped. The silence was thick and uncomfortable. My Uncle David tried to recover. Well, Nadia, that's wonderful. You had no idea. Why didn't you tell us? I met his eyes. Because I shouldn't have to prove my worth to my own family. My value isn't determined by my bank account. And the fact that you're all suddenly interested in me now that you know I'm wealthy says everything about your character. Vanessa tried a different approach. Come on, Nadia. Don't be like that. We're family. We're proud of you. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Are you? 5 minutes ago, I was being disinvited from family events for not being successful enough. Now that you know I have money, suddenly I'm worthy of your pride. Patricia was still processing. But you live so modestly. Your apartment, your car, your clothes. I said, I live within my means and invest the rest. I don't need to impress strangers with luxury items. I'm secure enough in my success that I don't need external validation. That landed hard. Because that was exactly what my family did. Constantly sought external validation through material displays. My mother looked at me with a mix of pride and sadness. Honey, I wish you'd told us. We could have supported you better. I shook my head. You should have supported me regardless of my income. The fact that my worth to this family is tied to my financial success is exactly the problem. Ryan, my brother, spoke up. Nadia's right. We've been jerks. All of us. We judged her without knowing anything about her life. The table erupted in overlapping voices. Some family members tried to apologize. Others defended themselves. Patricia just sat there, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. Then I did something I'd been thinking about for the last 5 minutes. Something that would make this night unforgettable. I stood up and pulled out my wallet. From it I extracted a black credit card. American Express Centurion. The invitation-only card that required at least $250,000 in annual charges. My family's eyes locked onto it. Patricia's face went even paler. I walked over to where our server was standing, looking uncomfortable during our family drama. Excuse me, I'd like to speak to the manager, please. The server nodded and hurried away. Moments later, a well-dressed man in his 50s approached. Good evening. I'm Giuseppe, the owner. How can I help you? I smiled warmly. Giuseppe, lovely restaurant. I have an unusual request. I'd like to pay for every table in this restaurant tonight. Not just my family's private room. Every single diner in this establishment. Giuseppe's eyebrows shot up. Signora, that's very generous, but... I handed him my card. Please. I insist. Calculate the total bill for every table currently dining here. Add a 25% tip for all your staff. And if any table has already paid, refund them and put it on my card. He stared at the card, then at me. Are you certain? This could be quite expensive. I said, I'm absolutely certain. Consider it a birthday gift to my grandmother. She always taught me to be generous. Giuseppe smiled broadly. In that case, it would be my honor. Give me just a few moments. He hurried away. I returned to my seat. My family was frozen in shock. Aunt Patricia finally found words. Nadia, what are you doing? I said calmly. I'm celebrating success. Isn't that what tonight was about? Celebrating achievement. My grandmother was grinning from ear to ear. She reached over and squeezed my hand. That's my girl. While Giuseppe processed the payment, I looked around at my family. Let me tell you all something. For years you've made me feel inadequate. Every family gathering became a reminder that I wasn't good enough in your eyes. Do you know what that feels like? To be dismissed by people who are supposed to love you unconditionally. No one answered. I continued. I could have flashed my money around. I could have bragged about my clients and my income. But I didn't. Because I was raised to believe that character matters more than wealth. That kindness matters more than status. Apparently, I'm the only one in this family who still believes that. Patricia tried to interrupt. Nadia, we didn't mean. I held up my hand. You meant exactly what you said. You told me to my face that I wasn't successful enough to be included in family events. You measured my worth in dollars. And now that you know I have those dollars, you're backtracking. But the damage is done. Vanessa looked genuinely upset. Nadia, I'm sorry. I really am. I was a snob. I judged you without knowing anything. I appreciated that she said it, even if it was too late. Thank you, Vanessa. But an apology doesn't erase years of being treated like I was less than. Giuseppe returned, holding a receipt. He looked impressed. Signora Chen, the total comes to $43,892, including the service charge and tips. Your card has been processed. Thank you for your extraordinary generosity. Table gasped. $43,000. I just paid $43,000 to prove a point. I signed the receipt with a flourish. Thank you, Giuseppe. Please make sure every table knows their meal is covered. Tell them it's a gift from my grandmother's birthday celebration. Giuseppe nodded enthusiastically. I will announce it myself. This is the most generous thing I've seen in 30 years of running this restaurant. He disappeared again, presumably to tell the other diners about their unexpected good fortune. My family sat in stunned silence. Finally, my Uncle Marcus spoke. Nadia, that was... wow. That was something. I looked at him. It's just money, Marcus. You all seem to think money is the most important thing. So I thought I'd demonstrate what having it actually looks like. Within minutes, we started hearing reactions from the main dining room. Gasps of surprise. Excited chatter. Someone actually cheered. Giuseppe's voice came over a speaker system. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention. Tonight, every meal in Milano's has been graciously paid for by the Chen family, celebrating their matriarch's 80th birthday. Please join me in thanking them for this incredible generosity. Applause erupted from the dining room. Several diners appeared at our doorway, trying to see who was responsible. An elderly couple approached me directly. Thank you so much, dear. That was so kind. Smiled. Happy to do it. Enjoy your evening. They left still thanking me. My family watched this entire exchange in silence. Aunt Patricia looked like she wanted to disappear. Her husband David wouldn't meet anyone's eyes. Vanessa was crying quietly. My mother reached over and hugged me. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I should have stood up for you more. I hugged her back. It's okay, Mom. I understand the family dynamics. It's not your fault. But it was time to establish some new dynamics. Grandma stood up, leaning on her cane. Despite her age, her voice was strong. I need to say something. All of you listen. The room fell silent. She continued, I'm ashamed. Ashamed of this family. Nadia is the most successful person here, not because of her money, but because of her character. She didn't flaunt her wealth. She didn't put others down. She quietly built an empire while you all gossiped and judged. Patricia tried to protest. Mother, we didn't know. Grandma cut her off. You didn't know because you didn't care to know. When was the last time any of you asked Nadia about her work? Really asked? Showed genuine interest? No one answered. That's what I thought. You were too busy parading Vanessa around, celebrating mediocrity. That stung Vanessa, but Grandma wasn't done. Vanessa, you make $65,000 a year. That's good. Nothing wrong with that. But Nadia makes 5 times that. She owns property. She has investments. By your own shallow standards, she's more successful than anyone at this table. Grandma turned to me. Nadia, you are the person I'm most proud of in this family. Not because of your money, but because you stayed humble. You stayed kind. You didn't let their judgment corrupt your character. I felt tears forming. Grandma hugged me. I'm sorry they treated you this way. And I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner. I told her it was okay. But it meant everything to hear her say those words. The rest of dinner was awkward. No one knew what to say. The celebration felt hollow. People picked at their food, avoiding eye contact. I actually felt a bit bad. I hadn't meant to ruin Grandma's birthday party. But I also wasn't going to let them continue treating me like I was worthless. As dessert was being served, Patricia finally worked up the courage to speak to me directly. She came over to my seat, looking genuinely remorseful. Nadia, I owe you an apology. A real one. I gestured for her to sit. She did, looking smaller and older than usual. I've been horrible to you. For years. I let my own insecurities drive how I treated you. You reminded me of myself when I was younger. Creative, independent, not following the traditional path. I resented that. I resented your freedom. I hadn't expected such honesty. Why? She sighed. Because I gave up my dreams to do what was expected. I wanted to be an interior designer. But my parents said it wasn't practical. So I became a real estate agent instead. I've spent 30 years being successful by other people's standards while feeling empty inside. I felt a flash of sympathy. That must have been hard. She nodded. When I saw you pursuing your art, making it work despite everyone's doubts, it threatened me. You were doing what I'd been too afraid to do. So I tore you down, made you feel small. Because it made me feel better about my own choices. I appreciated her honesty, even if it didn't erase the pain. Thank you for telling me that. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. Can you forgive me? Thought about it. Eventually. But not tonight. You hurt me deeply. You made me feel unwelcome in my own family. That's going to take time to heal. She nodded, accepting that. I understand. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry. After she left, Vanessa approached. She'd been crying on and off throughout dinner. Nadia, I'm the worst. I've been so awful to you. I looked at my cousin. We used to be close as kids. Then competition and jealousy had driven us apart. Why did you look down on me, Vanessa? Vanessa sat down where Patricia had been. Honestly. 'Cause my mom did. I learned from her that certain careers were valuable and others weren't. Art was frivolous. Business was serious. I absorbed those beliefs without questioning them. She wiped her eyes. But also because I was jealous. You always seemed so free. So comfortable with yourself. I've spent my whole life trying to be perfect, to meet everyone's expectations. You just existed without needing anyone's approval. I envied that. I understood that more than she knew. We all have our struggles, Vanessa. She nodded. I want to be better. I want us to have a real relationship. Can we try? Thought about it. Maybe. But you need to understand that relationships require genuine interest in the other person. You can't just show up when it's convenient. She agreed. I will. Promise. Can I ask you something? I told her to go ahead. How did you build such a successful business? Like specifically, what did you do? It was the first time anyone in my family had asked me about my work in years. So I told her. I explained how I'd started freelancing, building a portfolio. How I'd networked, reached out to potential clients, and taken on projects that scared me. How I'd learned business skills alongside creative ones. How I'd saved aggressively and invested wisely. How I dealt with rejection and failure along the way. She listened intently, asking genuine questions. By the end, she said, "That's incredible. You built all that yourself." He nodded. "That's what I've been trying to tell you all. Am successful. Just not in the loud, flashy way you expected." She smiled sadly. "I see that now. Better late than never." I returned the smile. Better late than never. The dinner ended shortly after. People filed out slowly, many stopping to apologize or congratulate me. Some seemed sincere. Others seemed performative. I accepted them all with grace. As guests left, Giuseppe approached me again. "Signora Chen, I want to thank you personally. Your generosity tonight will be talked about for years. You've created wonderful memories for many people." Thanked him. He continued, "But more than that, I want to tell you something. I overheard parts of your family's conversation. I know it wasn't intended for my ears, but in a private room, sound carries." I felt embarrassed. "I'm sorry you had to witness our family drama." He shook his head. "Don't apologize. What I witnessed was a master class in dignity. You were disrespected by people who should cherish you. Instead of lashing out, instead of leaving, you responded with such grace and generosity. That's character." His words meant more than he knew. "Thank you, Giuseppe." He handed me a card. "This is my personal number. Anytime you want to dine here, call me directly. You and your guests will always have the best table, and everything will be complimentary. It's the least I can do." I was touched. "That's not necessary." He insisted. "It absolutely is. People like you make the world better. Let me honor that in my small way." I accepted the card and thanked him again. Before I left, Grandma pulled me aside. We stood in the restaurant lobby, away from the others. "Nadia, that was quite a show." I worried I'd upset her. "Grandma, I'm sorry if I ruined your birthday dinner." "I didn't mean to," she stopped me. "Ruined it. You made it the most memorable birthday of my life. Watching you stand up to Patricia, watching you command that room, watching you be generous despite being hurt. I've never been more proud." She hugged me tight. "Promise me something." Asked what? "Promise me you'll never change. Never let their opinions or judgments dim your light. You're perfect exactly as you are." Promised. As I walked to my car, my brother Ryan caught up with me. "Hey, wait up." Stop. Ryan was 25, still figuring out his path. He worked in retail while trying to start a photography business. The family gave him the same treatment they gave me. "That was amazing," he said. "The way you handled them. The way you just owned the room. I want to be like that." Smiled. "You already are, Ryan. You're pursuing your passion despite their judgment. That takes strength." He looked relieved. "I always felt like a failure compared to the cousins. But watching you tonight, you showed me that success isn't what they say it is. It's what we define for ourselves." I hugged him. "Exactly. Don't let them make you feel small. Build your business. Believe in yourself. And don't waste time trying to impress people who won't appreciate you anyway." He thanked me and headed to his car. I sat in mine for a moment before driving away. The night had been exhausting but cathartic. I'd finally stood up to years of judgment. I'd revealed truths I'd kept hidden. And I'd made a statement they'd never forget. The drive home gave me time to process everything. Part of me felt guilty for dropping $43,000 just to prove a point. But another part felt it was worth every penny. Sometimes the only way to make people hear you is to speak their language. And my family's language was money. So I'd spoken it. Fluently. When I got home, I poured myself a glass of wine and sat on my balcony. My phone buzzed constantly. Family members texting. Some apologizing. Some asking questions about my work. Some, like my cousin Marcus, asking for investment advice. I ignored most of them. I needed space to breathe. The next morning, I woke to dozens more messages. My phone had blown up overnight. But there was one message that caught my attention. From Vanessa. Nadia, I couldn't sleep. I keep thinking about what you said. About how we should have supported you regardless of your income. You're right. I'm sorry I wasn't a better cousin. I'd like to buy you coffee this week if you're willing. No agenda. Just wanting to actually know you. I appreciated that. I texted back. Coffee sounds good. Thursday at 10. She agreed immediately. There was also a message from my mom. Sweetie, your father and I have been talking. We're so proud of you. And so sorry we didn't stand up for you more over the years. We want to do better. Love you. That one made me tear up a bit. Called her. Hi, Mom. She sounded emotional. Nadia, honey, last night was... Wow. Your father and I had no idea you'd done so well. Why didn't you tell us? I explained. Because I wanted you to be proud of me for who I am, not what I earn. I wanted unconditional love and support, not pride based on financial success. She was quiet. Then she said, You're absolutely right. We failed you. We let Patricia's toxic values infect the whole family. We measured worth in dollars instead of character. I'm so sorry. I told her I forgave her. You weren't as bad as Patricia. But you did let it happen. Going forward, I need you to have my back. Even when the rest of the family is judgmental. She promised she would. We talked for another hour about everything. My business, my life, my dreams. For the first time in years, she really listened. That afternoon, Patricia called. I almost didn't answer. But curiosity won. Nadia, thank you for taking my call. Her voice was subdued. What do you want, Aunt Patricia? She took a breath. I want to make amends. Real amends, not just words. I spoke to Giuseppe at Milano's. He told me the final bill last night was over $43,000. That's more than I make in months. Waited. I want to pay you back. I was surprised. Patricia, you don't have to, she interrupted. Yes, I do. You spent that money because I insulted you. Because I made you feel unwelcome in your own family. The least I can do is reimburse you. Thought about it. I appreciate the gesture, but I didn't spend that money to be paid back. I spent it to make a point. She was quiet. Then she said, Let me do something else then. Let me take you to lunch. Just the two of us. Let me hear about your work. Really hear about it. I was skeptical. Why? She sighed. Because I owe you that. Because you deserve to be heard. And because I want to understand the niece I've ignored for so long. I agreed to lunch the following week. She sounded relieved. Over the next few days, I had similar conversations with other family members. My Uncle David called to apologize for going along with Patricia's nonsense. My cousin Marcus called to say he'd always respected my independence but never said so. My Aunt Carol, my mother's sister who'd been quiet during the dinner, called to say she'd admired my response. The attention was overwhelming. Part of me wondered if they were just being nice now because they knew I had money. But I decided to give them the benefit of the doubt. People can change. Growth is possible. Even for judgmental, materialistic family members. Thursday came. I met Vanessa at a coffee shop downtown. She arrived early, already at a table with 2 lattes. She stood when I entered, looking nervous. Nadia, hi. Thanks for coming. I sat down. Thanks for the coffee. We started awkwardly talking about safe topics. The weather. Coffee shop. Nothing substantial. Then Vanessa took a breath. I want to ask you something. And I want you to be completely honest with me. I told her to go ahead. She looked down at her cup. Do you hate me? The question surprised me. No, Vanessa. I don't hate you. She looked up. Really? Because you'd have every right to. I've been awful. I shook my head. I don't hate you. I resent how you've treated me. I'm hurt by years of being dismissed. But hate, well, that takes more energy than you're worth. She laughed despite herself. Fair. I continued. You're a product of Patricia's values. She raised you to believe that certain things mattered and others didn't. You absorbed that. But you're an adult now. You can choose different values. She nodded. I want to. I'm tired of being shallow. Of measuring everything in dollars and status. It's exhausting. I understood that. So change. It's not too late. She asked. How do you do it? How do you stay so grounded despite your success? Thought about that. I had no choice. When you're dismissed and underestimated, you either break or you build character. Chose character. I focused on my work, not on proving anything to anyone. I measured my success by my own standards, not theirs. She listened intently. Can I ask about your business? Like really ask. Not to be nosy, but because I'm genuinely curious. For the next hour I told her everything. How I'd landed my first major client through cold emailing and persistence. How I'd nearly quit after a project disaster but pushed through. How I'd learned to negotiate higher rates. How I'd built systems to handle multiple clients. How I'd invested my profits wisely. She asked thoughtful questions. And for the first time I felt like she was seeing me as a person, not just the unsuccessful cousin. When we finished, she said, You're incredible. I wish I had your determination. I told her she did. You just need to find what you're passionate about and pursue it without needing everyone's approval. Over the next month, things slowly shifted in my family. Patricia and I had lunch. She asked about my work and actually listened. She even asked if I designed some marketing materials for her real estate business. I agreed, charging her my friends and family rate, which was still substantial but fair. Vanessa and I started having regular coffee dates. She was genuinely trying to be better, to be less superficial, to think about what actually mattered. My parents made more effort to be involved in my life. They asked about my projects. They came to my apartment for dinner. They apologized for past behavior. Even my extended family changed. Cousins reached out to ask about my work. Aunts and uncles made genuine efforts to connect. Some of it felt performative at first, but over time it seemed more authentic. One evening I got a call from Giuseppe at Milano's. Signora Chen, I wanted to let you know something. Since your generous gesture last month, we've had 3 other customers do similar things. Not on your scale, but they've paid for other tables, left large tips, and spread kindness. You started something beautiful. That warmed my heart. That's wonderful to hear. He continued. Also, I wanted to invite you and your grandmother to a special dinner. Just the 2 of you. My treat. To honor the woman who raised such an exceptional granddaughter. I accepted on Grandma's behalf. The following week, Grandma and I had a private dinner at Milano's. Giuseppe treated us like royalty. Between courses, Grandma said, You know, that night at my birthday dinner was the proudest moment of my life. I was surprised. Really? Even though it was so dramatic. She smiled. Especially because it was dramatic. You finally stood up to them. You finally showed them what you're made of. I've been waiting for that moment for years. I asked her why she never said anything before. Why didn't you defend me more openly? She looked sad. Because I'm old and sometimes I'm a coward. I should have stood up for you more. Should have told Patricia to shut her judgmental mouth years ago. But I didn't want to cause family rifts. She squeezed my hand. But watching you that night, watching you handle yourself with such dignity and strength, it gave me courage too. I've since told Patricia exactly what I think of her behavior over the years. She knows I'm disappointed in her. I appreciated that. Thank you, Grandma. She continued. And I've rewritten my will. Patricia isn't going to like it, but you and Ryan are getting the lion's share of my estate. Not because of your money, but because you've shown true character. I started to protest. Grandma, you don't have to, she stopped me. I absolutely do. I'm leaving my assets to people who will use them wisely and generously. That's you and Ryan. Patricia has enough, and more importantly, she hasn't earned it through her behavior. Felt emotional. I don't know what to say. She smiled. Say you'll keep being exactly who you are. That's all I ask. We finished our dinner talking about life, memories and dreams. It was the best evening I'd had with her in years. When I drove her home, she hugged me tight. I'm so proud of you, my darling girl. Never forget that. 2 months after the infamous dinner, Vanessa called me with an unexpected request. Nadia, I need advice. Career advice. I was intrigued. What's going on? She explained that she was miserable at her job. The promotion she'd been so proud of came with impossible expectations and toxic management. She was burning out. I've been thinking about what you said. About finding what I'm passionate about. And I realized I've been chasing status instead of satisfaction. I asked what she was passionate about. This is going to sound crazy, but... baking. I love baking. I've been making cakes and pastries as a hobby for years. People tell me I should sell them. But I always thought it wasn't a real career. Smiled. Vanessa, if you're good at it and people will pay for it, it's absolutely a real career. She sounded hopeful. You really think so? I told her I knew so. I built my business doing something people said wasn't practical. Look how that turned out. We talked for an hour about her potential baking business. I helped her think through costs, pricing, marketing strategies. She was genuinely excited in a way I'd never heard from her before. 3 months after my grandmother's birthday dinner, my life had settled into a new normal. My relationship with my family was better than it had been in years. Not perfect but honest. Patricia had become genuinely supportive, asking about my projects and occasionally sending referrals my way. Vanessa had quit her corporate job and started a baking business from home. She was happier than I'd ever seen her, even though she was making a fraction of her previous salary. Ryan's photography business was taking off. He'd gained confidence after watching me stand up to the family, and he'd started marketing himself more aggressively. My parents visited regularly, showing genuine interest in my life rather than just asking surface-level questions. And I'd started dating someone I met through a client, a kind, creative man named James who didn't care about my money and liked me for who I was. One evening, the doorbell rang unexpectedly. It was Patricia. She looked nervous. I hope I'm not intruding. I wanted to give you something. She handed me an envelope. Inside was a check for $43,000. Patricia, we talked about this. You don't need to, she insisted. I do need to. Not because you need the money, but because I need to make amends. I've been saving for months. I want you to have this. Use it however you want. Donate it. Invest it. Buy something frivolous. I don't care. I just need you to know I'm serious about being better. I was moved. This wasn't easy for her. I knew her financial situation. Saving this much had required real sacrifice. Thank you, I said, accepting the check. This means a lot. She looked relieved. Thank you for giving me another chance. I don't deserve it. I invited her in for tea. We sat in my living room, and she looked around at my modest but comfortable space. Your home is lovely. Simple but elegant. Like you. Thanked her. She continued. I've been thinking a lot about that night. About what you said. About character versus wealth. You were right. I've spent my life chasing the wrong things. She told me she'd started therapy, working through her regrets and insecurities. That she was trying to rebuild her relationship with Vanessa based on support rather than judgment. Vanessa told me about her baking business. At first I was horrified. I thought she was throwing her life away. But then I remembered how I reacted to your art career. And I realized I was doing the same thing to my own daughter. I was glad she was self-aware. How do you feel about it now? She smiled. Proud. Genuinely proud. She's following her passion. She's happy. That's what matters. It was growth. Real genuine growth. And I was happy to see it. 6 months after the dinner, Vanessa's baking business had grown significantly. She was getting orders for weddings, corporate events, birthday parties. She'd even been featured in a local magazine. She called me one day excited. "Nadia, guess what? I got asked to cater a dessert table for a tech conference. 300 people. It's my biggest order yet." I congratulated her. "That's amazing. You must be thrilled." She was. "I couldn't have done this without you. Without your example. Without your encouragement. You showed me that unconventional paths can lead to success." I told her she did the hard work. "I just pointed you in a direction. You walked the path." She got emotional. "I want to tell you something. That night at Grandma's dinner, when you revealed your success and paid for everyone's meal, it changed my life. Not because of the money, but because you showed me what strength looks like, what integrity looks like, what real success looks like." She continued. "I'd spent my whole life trying to impress people with titles and salaries. But I was miserable. Watching you be content with yourself, not needing external validation. It made me realize I was living wrong." I appreciated her honesty. "I'm glad you found your path," she said. "There's something else. Mom told me she paid you back the $43,000. I confirmed she had. She did. It was a meaningful gesture." Vanessa asked. "What did you do with it?" Smiled. "I donated it. All of it. To a scholarship fund for art students from low-income families. Students like I was. Who need support to pursue their dreams despite people telling them art isn't practical." Vanessa went quiet. Then she said, "That's perfect. That's so perfectly you. You took Mom's guilt money and turned it into something beautiful." I hadn't thought of it that way, but she was right. We talked for a while longer. Before hanging up, she said, "Thank you for not giving up on me. On our family. You could have walked away and never looked back. But you gave us chances to be better. That's grace." A year after my grandmother's 80th birthday dinner, she called a family meeting. Everyone gathered at her house on a Sunday afternoon, wondering what was so important. She stood in her living room, leaning on her cane, looking at all of us. "I'm not dying," she announced. "But I'm getting older, and there are things that need to be said while I'm still here to say them." She gestured for everyone to sit. 30 family members crammed into her modest living room. This past year has shown me a lot about this family, about who we are and who we can be. And I want to talk about the night of my 80th birthday. Patricia looked uncomfortable. Everyone else was silent. Grandma continued. That night, Patricia said something cruel and thoughtless. She told Nadia she wasn't successful enough to be invited to future family events. That we only wanted successful people at our gatherings. She looked around the room. "And most of you said nothing. You let it happen. Some of you even agreed." People shifted in their seats. But Nadia, my beautiful, strong granddaughter, handled it with such grace. She revealed her success, which was far greater than anyone imagined. And instead of being petty or vindictive, she was generous. She paid for every table in that restaurant. $43,000. He paused. And that's when I realized. Nadia is the most successful person in this family. Not because of her money, but because of her character. She was kind when others were cruel. She was generous when others were judgmental. She was strong when others tried to make her feel small. Tears were streaming down several faces. Grandma wasn't done. This past year, I've watched this family change. Patricia got therapy. Vanessa quit her job to pursue her passion. Ryan gained confidence. Nadia's parents became more supportive. All because one person had the courage to stand up and say, "Enough." She looked directly at me. "Nadia, thank you. Thank you for being brave. Thank you for not letting us break you. Thank you for giving us the chance to be better." I was crying. Everyone was. Grandma sat down, tired from standing. That's all I wanted to say. "Let's eat." The family meeting broke up into smaller conversations. People hugged. Stories were shared. Laughter filled the house. It felt different from past gatherings. More genuine. More warm. Before I left, several family members pulled me aside. My Uncle David said, "I'm sorry I went along with Patricia's nonsense. I should have spoken up." My cousin Marcus said, "You inspired me to take a risk. I quit my corporate job and started my own consulting firm. It's terrifying but exciting." My Aunt Carol said, "I've always admired you. I'm sorry I didn't say it sooner." Each conversation felt like another weight lifting off my shoulders. As I was leaving, Patricia stopped me. "Nadia, wait. I have something for you." She handed me a small wrapped box. "What's this?" She smiled. "Open it." Inside was a beautiful silver bracelet. Engraved on it were the words, "Success is character, not currency." I looked at her surprised. She explained, "I had it made to remind myself of what you taught me. And I wanted you to have one too, as a thank you." Hugged her. Really hugged her. For the first time in years, it felt like hugging family. Driving home, I thought about the journey of the past year. How one moment of standing up for myself had changed everything. How speaking my truth had freed not just me, but my entire family. How showing strength had inspired others to be stronger. I'd spent years feeling invisible, undervalued, and judged. But in one night, I'd reclaimed my power. Not through anger or revenge, but through truth and generosity. The $43,000 I spent that night wasn't about the money. It was about making a statement. About refusing to be diminished. About showing that success comes in many forms. And the most important kind is the success of living with integrity. My phone buzzed. A text from James. "Dinner at my place tonight? I'm cooking." I smiled and replied yes. Life was good. Really good. Not because of money or status or family approval, but because I'd learned to value myself, to set boundaries, to demand respect, to be generous even when hurt, to choose grace over bitterness, and to understand that real success isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in how you treat people, how you handle adversity, and how you choose to show up in the world. Today, 2 years after that infamous dinner, my life looks completely different. My business has grown even more. I now have 2 full-time employees and contracts with 7 Fortune 500 companies. My annual income has crossed $500,000. But more importantly, my relationship with my family has transformed. Patricia and I have lunch once a month. We talk about real things now. Struggles, fears, dreams. She's become someone I actually enjoy spending time with. Vanessa's baking business is thriving. She's opened a small storefront and hired 3 employees. She's making less than her corporate salary but is happier than she's ever been. She credits our conversations for giving her the courage to pursue her passion. Ryan's photography business has taken off. He recently shot a campaign for a major brand. He called me afterward to say, "You showed me that unconventional paths can lead to success." Thank you. My parents and I have regular family dinners. They ask about my work with genuine interest. They've learned to show love without conditions. It's the relationship I always wanted. Even my extended family has changed. Cousins reach out to actually connect, not just to brag. Aunts and uncles show interest in my life. Family gatherings are less competitive and more collaborative. And Grandma. She's still going strong at 82, telling anyone who'll listen about her granddaughter who showed the whole family what really matters. Last week I got an email from Giuseppe at Milano's. He wanted to let me know that the culture of generosity I'd sparked had continued. Regular customers were paying for each other's meals, leaving generous tips, spreading kindness. "You created a legacy of giving," he wrote. "Thank you for that." As I sit here in my apartment, looking at the bracelet Patricia gave me, success is character, not currency, I realize that everything worked out exactly as it should. I don't regret spending $43,000 that night. It was the best investment I ever made. Not in stocks or property, but in dignity, in self-respect, in teaching my family a lesson they desperately needed to learn. That real success isn't about what you have. It's about who you are. At dinner, my aunt said, We only invite successful people. So I paid for the whole restaurant. Not to show off. Not to be petty. But to demonstrate that success with character looks like generosity. That having money means nothing if you don't use it to lift others up. That the truest measure of a person isn't their bank account. It's their heart. My family learned that lesson. And in teaching them I learned something too. That standing up for yourself doesn't make you cruel. Setting boundaries doesn't make you selfish. Demanding respect doesn't make you difficult. Makes you strong. Makes you whole. It makes you successful in the ways that actually matter. And that's worth more than any amount of money could ever be. If this story inspired you or made you think differently about success and family, please hit that subscribe button for more incredible true stories. Your support means everything, and I have so many more stories to share with you. Thank you for being here.